the biggest moment in my life was when I was 19 years old. And at the time I was a Christian, and I was on a camp, like a Christian camp and everything else. And I was having some doubts about my faith. And I spoke to the pastor, the minister, before the camp, and he told me a verse from the Bible about if you fall, you will not gash your foot on the stone. And it was a strange verse because in the Christian Bible, it's in the Old Testament, but it's also in the New Testament. But we didn't read the one in the Old Testament, only the New Testament, which is the devil saying to Jesus about this, challenging him, jump off the cliff, and the angels will protect you. You will not gash your foot against the stone, like this. So it's very strange for someone to say this to me, because I'd only read the devil saying this, but it's actually in the Old Testament as well. The next day we were playing a game called Spotlight, where you hide, and some people have a torch and they try to find you, and we were in the forest. If they found you, they would throw water balloons or they would throw eggs. One more go, it was midnight. It's one more go and then we finish. And they saw me, the girls saw me, and I ran through the forest. And back then I could run faster than I can now. And I was running very quickly, couldn't see anything, and amazed I didn't hit a tree. And I just ran, and I ran straight off a waterfall. And I'm like, and it goes through your life. They say, life time slows down, and everything else it does. And I was falling, going towards head first, and then this verse from the Bible came, boom, into my head. And when it did, I felt, this is strange talking about this, but I felt thousands of hands on my back, and I turned me so that I landed like I'm in almost like a seat of the rock. I landed like this instead of on my head, which I would have died. And I was there in the creek. It was midnight. They got me out at 6 o'clock in the morning. There was about 150 people who saw it. They got the emergency volunteers, put up lights and everything else. There was a nurse. Eventually the paramedics came, and I had a broken leg, a broken arm. I had spinal bruising on my back, lots of cuts and everything else. My feet were in the water of this creek, so I was pretty cold for 6 hours with my feet in the water, but they couldn't move me because of my neck and back. When the paramedics came, they saw that I could move my neck. He may not walk again. I might not be able to walk again. So they took me to the hospital, to Nambour Hospital, did x-rays and all this sort of stuff. And then about 7 o'clock in the morning, this doctor came in, and he said to me a strange thing, because it's not normal for a doctor to say this. He said to me, there is nothing wrong with you. Get up and walk. And which is actually words basically from the Bible. And when he said that, I felt, I don't know, some sort of rush of energy or something, and I jumped up. I did not have anything on me, no broken bones, no scratches, nothing. And I went to my friends who were in the reception. They were asleep. They wake up. I was like, come on, let's go. And they thought they were in heaven. They thought that the end of the world had come, and they were in heaven because how could I be walking? It is one of the most humbling experiences in my life because I've seen ministers, pastors and priests at my come up, see me, go down onto their knees, burst into tears and crying right in front of me after they saw me that I am without any problem. And I was playing basketball and everything else that day. It was so for me, people talk about faith. People talk about faith, belief, verit, to me, I don't have a choice. It's not something I choose to have. I choose to have a faith or not. It would be easier if I didn't have a faith, but this is why I have a faith. Well, actually, it's quite funny because about a week later, the church that I was going to, there were some Russians coming, and they were going to become part of our congregation. And so they asked us if anyone who wanted to learn Russian, and I said okay. And my sister and I started to learn Russian. So we were learning Russian because these Russians were coming. But then they decided they were going to open their own church and everything else. But we had a minister from Russia come to visit to do some talks. He didn't speak any English, and he talked about life in Russia as being a Christian in Russia and all this sort of stuff. And then at the end, he was shaking everyone's hands, and he shook everyone's hand and just. But when he shook my hand, he said, "Go to Siberia." And it was very strange. He didn't say this to anyone else. He said, "Go to Siberia." And so after that, I felt that this was something I should do. But then also, I'm afraid to do it. So I go, look, okay, I'll go to Russia, but just not to Siberia. I'll be close, but I won't go there. I'm afraid to go to Siberia. I don't know what will happen. I am religious, but maybe, there's a line, there's a line that people have, and I'm like, I'm not sure. I don't think I want to go that far. Like this. I still like my nightclubs, and things like this. I don't want to be like some, hermit with a Rasputin beard and everything else, like a big sort of Desmaros or something like this in Siberia. So yeah, I don't know. Maybe it's my future. I don't know. But it got me originally interested in everything Russia.